support that.
Yeah. All right.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
I did not mean to click on the comment, but whatever. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the View 52 Challenge. I am your host tonight, one of your three hosts tonight, Jack Pinchuk, and with me as we continue our journey through classic film is the one, the only Alex Martinez Coronado. Alex, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing very nice, very evil. Very, very nice, very evil.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. And also joining us once again as we expand our classic film repertoire is Melissa Woody. Melissa, how are you today?
I'm exhausted. I just got home 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, and I did like a 3-hour hike, and now I'm here to talk about classic films. Can't wait.
Love it. All right. Yeah, no, I for one am very excited to talk about a lot of these movies today. We've got let's recap what the challenges were for this last month. We got a film by Ingmar Bergman, a film in the Criterion Collection, very broad selection there. A silent film and a film featuring Charles Laughton, one of the great actors of classic Hollywood. I think we can agree, or hopefully we'll see. Anyway, I guess we can just kind of get into it. A film by Ingmar Bergman. I guess I can start this one off. I picked probably my biggest blind spot for this director, The Seventh Seal. I hadn't seen very many of his movies before this challenge. In fact, I think I had only seen one. But as I watch more of his movies, I realize that this guy is absolutely a director that just works for me. The Seventh Seal, for those that you don't know, is about a knight and his squire returning home after, I think, 10 or so years of they were in the Crusades, I believe. It's been a minute since I've seen this movie. Yeah, returning home from the Crusades, and as on their way, or after they arrive back home, the knight is visited by death, and that he decides to play a chess match with him to forestall his impending death. I thought that the chess match was like the whole movie. I was very surprised and, pleasantly surprised to find out that it wasn't. You've got a whole host of great characters in this, some great performances. I can't remember her name right now. I believe it's Bibi Andersson, who is in another one we watched for this month. But she's great. Max von Sydow is phenomenal, but I have to look up the cast member just so I get his name right. I'm not going to pronounce that right, but the dude that plays Death,
yeah,
he's got a name.
He has a name.
He's got a name. It's a cool name. It's just not one that I'm going to pronounce without butchering, so I will refrain from doing that. Is probably my favorite performance in the film. He's so cold. Just cold, detached performance in this is so captivating to watch. There's some gorgeous cinematography. The Bergman's direction is phenomenal. I'm shocked this wasn't nominated for international feature that year at the Oscars, but I believe Knights of Cabrera won that year anyway. So like, I've heard great things about that movie for the most part. So Seven Seal definitely lived up to the hype. Not the best movie we watched for the challenge this month or even this week, but we'll get to that later. You two, what do you think of Seven Seal?
I mean, I'm a Ingmar Bergman stan at this point. Like, I love everything he does. There hasn't really been a film that's been like, ooh, that's terrible. Like, they all have been pretty great. This was a rewatch. Shout out to my 6th grade teacher. He showed me this movie. So thank you. And that's kind of where my love of Ingmar Bergman started. I didn't like see the film for several years after that, but like, anyways, no, I think this is a great film about like the meaning of life and death, and definitely taps into some things with like religion and God and spirituality. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Alex?
I'm not a Bergie stan. I'm actually incredibly skeptical of Ingmar Bergman. It tells you everything you need to know about a director when like their most comforting film that you have seen is the one where it's like, don't worry, eventually you'll die, and that'll be neat. That'll be neat.
Yeah.
I thought that was like, I do like the Seven Seal. It's actually difficult because I don't think, with the exception of one, I don't think that I've disliked any of Ingmar Bergman's films. It's just I think they're too cerebral. Like they're too in Ingmar Bergman's head, and I have a lot of suggestion that tells me that it is not somewhere that I mean to spend a lot of time. So yeah, I think Seven Seal gets a little bit outside of that and lets Ingmar Bergman play with these sort of broader archetypes. The theater player, knights, this kind of medieval theme playing, and just getting out of that head, getting out into the field more. A lot of Ingmar Bergman's films take place in like isolated rooms with no decoration, at least the ones I've seen for this show. And so it's nice to like be outside in the sun and grass, and get to explore what that would be like. I liked the character of Death very much. I thought that was a fun kind of portrayal of funny death. Because I found Death very funny in this. I don't know why. I thought Death had a sort of a great sense of humor, and this film has really like percolated throughout media. You can draw from here direct lines to like Bill and Ted, or Last Action Hero, or Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, or Harry Potter. There are a lot of like direct through lines that you can see pass very much through the line of the Seventh Seal, and so that was really cool. I would say this is a fine film. Also, all of these were like very short. So like yes. I thought this was going to be like a 2.5 hour movie. No, it's not. It's like comfortably less.
It's like 90 some minutes long. It's really short,
very
actually.
Short.
Also, the favorite film of Picture This is most loyal secret supporter Dylan Van Thine, who
really
watched many an episode before the show ended. So that's cool.
Picture This.
Yeah, y'all remember? It's better not to. Anyway, we can move on. Melissa, tell us about the one you saw.
Yeah. So this was the only one that was a new watch for me for this week, which was Through a Glass Darkly. Kind of basic premise is Karen is recently released from a mental hospital, and is kind of with her family on this secluded island. Yeah, I thought this was great. I thought, yeah, I don't know. I'm a little mixed on it, but overall, I really liked it. I think, and maybe this is something that Alex doesn't like with him, but like, I think he could be very heavy-handed with like the symbolism of it all and like the metaphors and all that kind of stuff, which I think is very present in this movie. But at the same time, I thought it was great. I thought the way he handled Karen's character with the mental illness aspect of it was really well done, because that's obviously a difficult like subject manner to like do well, in my opinion. Like, for example, from like previous weeks, I wasn't a big fan of like the Days of Wine and Roses. Like, I just think it's too silly versus like something like this. I think it handles it well, and I feel like we get to know Karen's character quite a bit before we even really get to see, I guess, that side of her. Honestly, my biggest criticism is I don't know why he had to like involve God in this movie. Like, that just felt annoying to me. I thought the family drama of it all, and in this very contained, isolated environment, and just again all the symbolism with Karen's like undoing of like at the end with like her being in the like ship just descending into madness, stuff like that. Like, I was fine with that. So I don't know why he had to like add faith elements to it, but I know he does that with a lot of his movies. So I know that's like a big, I guess, topic for a lot of his films, but I just didn't think it was necessary for this one. I thought it just like the family drama and like her mental illness would have been fine.
That's fair.
So I'll actually pick up from there, because I actually do have some small insight as I was researching for the show. Ingmar Bergman had a real beef with his dad, who was a minister of the Church of Sweden. So when I think this is like something that Ingmar brings to the table is when he thinks about family, when he thinks about like interpersonal relationships, this is something that's like hand in hand, which not so much like metaphor. I don't know if that's it. Could be. I don't know if it is that, but I think the thing that bothers me about Ingmar is that he's so like he's so much an auteur that like I don't want to be in this person's head anymore. Like, I'm glad they're short. I think that's a real strength of them. I think another big problem that I have is that a lot of his movies are so severe. They're so harsh. Like, Through a Glass Darkly is harsh, if nothing else. And there is no point. I think we're very much opposites in that. I like to see you where you were before the story started. Before you were a miserable person, what were you like before something happened to you? And then what does it look like after? Because some things can just break you, and that's completely fine and reasonable. But I don't get a real good sense of what Karen was like before any of this happened to her. It's just now, here you go. Like, you're thrown into, like, what was the first movie we watched by Bergman? Way back in like January.
Brink of Life?
Yeah.
Brink of Life. When we watched
Yeah.
Brink of Life, it was now everyone is stuck in this maternity ward. But I don't know who any of them were beforehand. So I just have characters that are miserable. That's actually something that was interesting about Seven Seal. Seven Seal was just people being around.
Mm-hmm.
Being peasants or knights or whatever. And I have a sense of that, whereas I don't have that through a Glass Darkly. That being said, the movie itself is fine. There's nothing technically wrong with any of these movies. The acting is all solid. The cinematography is all very good. The performance, all of that is fine. It's just I'd rather not be put through the wood chipper like that. That is something I do not enjoy.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess I do. I will say, just to bookmark, like, your criticism is actually how I feel about another movie that we'll talk about.
Wait.
that we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But like, I totally get what you're saying. And I don't know, for some reason with Bergman, it works for me.
Yeah.
But like I totally get it because I kind of struggle with that too with film. Sometimes it's like I kind of want to know like what were you like before? I'm not like understanding. Okay. Anyways, Jack.
Yeah, no. This I tend to gravitate more towards the bleaker side of cinema. For anyone that doesn't know me, look at how many times I've logged Requiem for a Dream on Letterboxd, and you'll get a pretty good idea about. Yeah, I guess. But no, this movie is. I thought it was pretty great. I believe it's the first movie in Bergman's like I think it's called his Faith trilogy. It was this and then two movies that were both released in '63. I think I can't remember the movies though. But I found like once again the performances are all like they're all fantastic. They're I think the best performance is probably stall as I pull up the cast again.
Trying to do the Swedish names thing is going to be.
The best
they are
performance
hard.
is probably Karen. Although the dad David, I thought his performance. The same dude that plays John's the squire
Mhm.
In Seventh Seal. I thought he was fantastic in this. The performances definitely kept me invested in the movie, but I do understand what you're saying with whole including God in this movie, and like the family drama would have been more than enough. And the God stuff didn't really bother me all that much. It didn't like take me too out of it, but I do think it would have been fine with just the family drama elements, and it's still very well done. But not of the three that we've, it's probably it's not my least favorite Bergman that I watched for this challenge, because Brink of Life is just below that, but like it's not like Seventh Seal or the next one that we'll talk about. So, but still very good. Anyway, Alex, you're next for this. Tell us a little bit about Persona.
Well, time to swerve a couple of years. Because this is probably the best I would qualify this probably as the best Bergman that I would have seen. And contrary to pretty much everything I previously said, which were bugs, I think they're all sort of features for Persona. Persona is the story of an actress and a nurse, who the actress has apparently suffered some sort of breakdown and has gone mute, and is being cared for in like a cabin somewhere, like you do, in a secluded cabin with just the nurse to conversate with, or rather the nurse is talking to her. And honestly, that's a great setup. And it really devolves into my biggest fear, which is you're stuck as an introvert with an oversharer. And it really does devolve almost like 25 minutes into the movie. There is a monologue that you cannot recover from. You spend the rest of like this hour 30 movie maybe recovering from what you have been told. And then 10 minutes later you're hit with like a left turn that changes everything you thought you knew about the movie, and then a right turn from there like 15 minutes down the road. This one really does kind of put all of the ducks in a row for what Ingmar Bergman I think can bring to the table. I think this is widely considered to be like one of, if not like the masterpiece. It is still very harsh. There is a lot, like there is one specific image that I'm like, oh, don't do that, don't do those things. But it does that. It's also like very well performed. The direction of it is of course very is of course excellent. The the shots in the movie are fantastic. It's a very brave movie that like 6 seconds in, I think it was like 6 seconds in, shows you just like a whole dick.
Yeah.
Like 6 seconds in. Yeah, I this is like a really fascinating watch for someone who is like very new to this specific person's like context. This is like a very fascinating watch. If I would care to, and I don't, continue watching more of these movies, I suspect I would enjoy them more having this as like a frame to work out of. But by itself, I would say it is quite enjoyable, if not incredibly like brutal.
Melissa.
Okay. I was like, are you gonna talk? I wasn't sure. No, I love this movie like a lot. It's like one of my all-time favorites at this point. I've only seen it a few times, but just every time I watch it, I'm kind of blown away by it. Yeah. I just feel like I always find something kind of new, and it feels very personal, in a way when I'm watching it. I definitely feel like it's really interesting that he's able, because a lot of his movies have female characters as the lead, and he's kind of like, especially this one, very much getting into like the female psyche of it all, and he does it so well. Like, I don't know how he does it, because it's just like it feels very realistic, I guess. And I do find this one kind of definitely tackling some things to the female experience, like on a more like universal level. But yeah, I love the editing of this movie, and I definitely like I didn't mention it with The Seventh Seal, but The Seventh Seal in this movie particularly I really see a lot of like inspiration from these two movies in Ari Aster's work. Like, in so it's really interesting, like rewatching and just seeing little things, and you're like, oh, like I could see that in current films today. So yeah, it's very influential. The acting's incredible. Yeah, it's hard to really like add much more. Like, it's, yeah, I think this is his best movie by far.
I had to go back to this one today because I could not stop thinking about it since I saw it. Like, I've been thinking about it constantly over the last week and a bit since I saw this movie, and it blew me away. It's between this and Seventh Seal, but I think I have to lean this now for my favorite Bergman movie. And honestly, potentially favorite. Not actually, no, because we did watch Seven Samurai for this challenge. So not favorite movie for the challenge, but like it's up there. It's up there. Liv Ullmann is something else. I've seen her in a few of Bergman's movies, and she is just consistently batting 1,000 here. She's incredible. Bibi Andersson, another incredible performer. I want to watch more of her work, especially with Bergman. I don't know how many movies they did together, but she's phenomenal. Some stunning cinematography in this film. I still haven't fully wrapped my head around like the last few minutes of this movie. There's definitely a lot that happens in that time, and I don't get all of it, but it's something that I can delve into more on further watches, because I will be revisiting this movie again and again. It's one that I want to go back to immediately. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the shots really remind me of Portrait of a Lady on Fire. It just
That definitely helps.
and,
Well,
and
the-
and definitely like even the aspects of the film, like they're on like this like
Yeah.
secluded island together, especially when they're like out by the sea. Like I was just like, whoa.
Also, yeah, the monologue that Alex was referring to, that like I was sitting there just like eyes pretty much glued to the screen. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen, and that it's a lot like I think there's no real like comparison between the two. Like they're two very different scenes, but it's like in Pearl during that 7 or so minute monologue, I was just there was nothing that could pry my attention away from that.
Oh, it's I wouldn't.
And
It's weird because like in Pearl, you know you're gearing up for something because it's the end.
yeah,
But like you're in a room. It's just the two of them in a room. One of them doesn't talk. So you're like, oh, it's just a scene, and then it keeps going and going and going and getting weirder and weirder and weirder, and then you're like, stop talking, like please, like you want to hear the rest of the story because naturally now you're curious, but at the same time like if you were the other character in that, you'd be like, hey man, I'm just I don't know what we met 2 weeks ago. I don't know if this is a lot you're putting on me right now. Like it's visual, it's emotionally stressful because you're also there, and I like that's a real fine line because at a certain point, like you have to be on the same wavelength of like I can't cut you off because I know this is like very important to you, but I really want out. I really want out, but I can't. All right,
yeah.
I have to stay. All right, fair enough.
Also the monologue that they play twice, they play the scene over back to back later in the movie. Once again, I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. It's just it's a masterclass in acting. This film, I don't want to say I had a great time, but like this was a phenomenal movie, and I'm glad I saw it. Anyway, with that, we can move on to the next one, which the next one. Sorry, I got a notification. Next challenge, a film in the Criterion Collection. This one had a pretty wide net.
Yeah.
we definitely got some interesting movies here. So, Melissa, I started last time, and Alex just finished. So why don't you kick us off here?
Sure. So I chose Bicycle Thieves because I kept hearing how fantastic it was, and I don't know if maybe the hype of it all, but I felt pretty underwhelmed. But basically the film it's simply that what's his name? Hold on. Antonio, his bike gets stolen and he's on a mission to try to get it back. I mean, that's basically the movie. It's very simple in its premise. This one I really struggle with. So this was the one I was bookmarking in regards to kind of what you were saying earlier, Alex. Like I didn't like the main guy. I think that's where I'm at with it, really. Like there's nothing about his character I found super like endearing or likable, really. So like and then just as the movie goes on, it kind of gets worse and worse. So I'm kind of just like, why am I watching this movie about this guy who gets his bike stolen and he kind of sucks? Like I just was really struggling with like why should I care about it, I guess, like ultimately. I thought his son Bruno was so cute, and I loved that character way like significantly more. And I almost wish like he was more the focus of the movie somehow or something. I will say I tend to struggle with movies that are just very like, I guess, very realistic and just like, here's a story of like things happening that's very realistic. I tend to lean in more the fantastical, magical, whatever fantasy of it all. And that might have been another thing with it. I'm not sure. Um, but I don't know. I'm very conflicted on this one because this movie's very well made. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. I guess I didn't feel very like emotionally invested in the story of like getting this bike. I get that it like had to do with a lot with like his livelihood and like I understand the importance of the bike. I had a hard time like caring about the story. That's kind of where I landed with it. But what did you guys think?
That's totally fair. This once again, bleak cinema is definitely my kind of vibe. I think this movie is great. I totally get it. What you're saying about the lead character, I don't think he's maybe the most likable lead character ever, but like he's I feel like he's someone that you can kind of sympathize with throughout the film. You know he's just trying to kind of just make a living for his family, so and his son. And he finally gets his break. Like he finally gets a break. He gets this job. He has to buy his bicycle back from the pawn shop, and his first day on the job, his bike gets stolen, and the entire movie from there is just different variations of you saying "ow, my heart" to yourself the whole time. It's a lot of emotion. It's very tragic, and it's one that I definitely vibed with. It's I think it's very well made. Between the two of this and Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow, which was made by the same director, I think we can confidently say Bicycle Thieves is the better movie.
Yes,
definitely.
I
was what we talked about this last night, and I was wondering why you brought up Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow. You did not explain it. I didn't realize they were made by the same person.
That's my bad.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you were just like, would you rather watch this or Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow? And I was like, what a random movie to pick.
I'm sorry, I'm bad at explaining.
This one's hard to talk about because on some aspects I really do understand what it's going for.
Mm-hmm.
This one guy struggled to just feed his family. That's hard, and there are a lot of people that go through that. He does lose some kind of sympathy points for me, just on the merit of him. Like, someone stole his bike, but he really needed to have kept a closer eye on it. Like, just on the premise alone, that's like a really hard thing for me to overcome. And I think Melissa, that you're right in that I don't have any particular reason to, besides the fact that I have walked with this guy for like a day or two. I have no particular reason to empathize or sympathize with him. And I think it's suggested by the film that I like basically at the end of the film, he walks into a crowd and everyone is walking in the same direction. So everyone's going through their own thing. Why should I specifically empathize with him? Because he has a kid? Yes, I feel very bad for the kid who may not eat tonight. That will be very hard on him. But I think that there are probably lots of people that are having the same problem. I don't know why this specific asshole. I don't know why and that's like a real sticking point for me. I think the movie itself is fine. There's just nothing technically wrong with it, except for the fact that there is a massive disconnect between what I should be feeling for the main character and what I actually feel for the main character. And that's a real problem. I don't have any particular kind of problem with bleak cinema. It's just I need to agree that this is bad. And I for some reason I don't.
Fair. This is fair. All right. Yeah, with that,
Jack, you're on the wrong side of history tonight. I don't know what it is, but you're
I'm
like,
disagreeing with everyone here.
Yeah.
No, and that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun that way.
Yeah, it is. It's just what I call a usual Saturday. So we'll go to Alex here. Alex, tell us about the
Vampire.
great vampire.
Vampire. How best to describe Vampire? All right. Have you ever watched a movie about werewolves?
Yeah.
That's kind of Vampire, strangely enough, isn't really a vampire. Isn't structured like a vampire movie. In a vampire movie, you know who the vampire is. Most of the time. Vampire is the story of a guy that comes to town, and that town happens to be potentially suffering from a vampire problem. And eventually, over the course of a fairly short film, you get processed of elimination until the vampire is revealed. That would be fine. In fact, there are a lot of movies that are like that. There's just a bunch. Like every murder mystery is like this. This is very much a murder mystery kind of movie. The problem with Vampire is that you don't know who anybody in the town is before the killings start. So there are these sort of vague archetypes of like the doctor, the rich guy, the old woman. And they all know each other, but they don't know the main character necessarily. So they're just like this is it's like very much the opposite of like Knives Out or Glass Onion, where these characters all know each other, or even just random people thrown together, like a Murder on the Orient Express, where they're all random people that happen to be in the same place and they're all weird. These are all just random. These are all just people in a town, a very small town. But because they don't have any personalities, when they die, you don't particularly care. And when the killer is eventually revealed, it doesn't matter. And so this movie mostly gets by on like, atmosphere. Which I'm sure in 1932 was very exciting and interesting, but like 100 years later, I would really like if something weird happened. So I can't honestly recommend Vampire like a lot of people would like me to, but sorry.
No, I completely agree. This one I struggled with too. There's a lot of movies actually this month I felt very conflicted on. So yeah, this story wise, yeah, it's not great. And then yeah, visually it's amazing. Like I think there's some really cool like editing things and just visuals. Yeah, great use of shadows. Yeah, the vibes of it all really worked in the atmosphere. But basically everything else doesn't. Also, it's like one of the first sound films, and so but it feels more like a silent film, which is like, so I just felt like it felt awkward in its execution. It felt awkward. I feel like it didn't really know what it was trying to be in that sense. And then there was a lot of reading, a lot of book stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind a little bit, but it was a little too much. And I was like, okay, I don't want to keep opening the book. Like, let's do something. Yeah, let's have something weird happen, as Alex phrased it.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. This is one that I'm not going to disagree with y'all on. I was so excited to watch this movie because I'm like, hell yeah, vampires, like creepy atmosphere, 75 or so minutes. Like this sounds like a movie I'm gonna really enjoy. And it's like 75 minutes, but man, does it feel twice that length. Like the atmosphere and the visuals are like top tier. Those are great. I don't really have anything else nice to say about the movie. It kind of just drags. It nothing happens. I forgot that it was a sound movie for like a solid 20 minutes. Uh, I straight up thought I was watching a silent movie for a bit there. It's a vibe. It's a vibe, very spooky vibe, but just not one that really worked for me on the whole. I was a little disappointed.
Yeah.
But with that, this was part 2 of my vampire movie double feature for this challenge, because I did watch the 2 vampire movies this week back to back, but we'll get to that one when we get to the next challenge. We'll talk about this one now. I picked The Red Shoes, and let me tell you, that movie rules. It got like it got off to a bit of a slow start. I'm not really sure what we were doing with the whole this guy's stealing this guy's music part. That didn't really seem to go anywhere. But once we got to like the actual like Red Shoes and everything afterwards, top tier. I want to rewatch it. It could probably go up to 5 stars on a rewatch, but like as of right now, very, very high 4.5. Some incredible visuals. That first performance of the Red Shoes, like that ballet performance in that movie, that could have been the entire second half of the movie. I've said this a couple times already, but I'll say it again. This could have been the entire second half of the movie, and I would not have had a problem. I was completely engrossed in that scene, in that performance. I thought it was phenomenal, but it is a punch in the gut at the end. And when they do the performance again, I was crying. It was not great, but no, it's a phenomenal film. The performances are all top tier. I'm really liking Powell and Pressburger from what I've seen from them so far. Not better than A Matter of Life and Death, in my opinion, right now, but like still an incredible film. So glad I finally got to see it. Yo.
Yeah, I don't know. This one might be better than A Matter of Life and Death for me personally. I'm obsessed with this movie, so thank you for picking it so I can rewatch it again. Yeah, I mean it's a fairy tale about a fairy tale basically, and I'm obsessed with Anton Walbrook's performance. It's his movie, like it's about him, and I love his character. I think it's super complex, and he is just so he's so cold. He doesn't know how to like be a human really, because he's choosing art over his life. I know it's how the ending happens. You would think it's about somebody else, which I think it is about that as well. But I think he's the central point of the film, is that he isn't choosing his like he's not choosing love or any other aspects of his life. He is just dedicated to his craft, dedicated to the art, and it's very sad, very tragic story. But and I like how he kind of always is wearing sunglasses to like hide himself, and he's kind of always like masking his emotions. But yeah, I mean, this movie is just visually like I'm eaten. Like it's so great. And just like the little details of it all, like on this rewatch, I noticed like in the auditorium, or like where the play is taking place, like there's just like these little details everywhere. Like there's like these little mushrooms like on the wall, and I'm like, oh, that's so cute. I mean, it doesn't matter, but it's just like, gosh, just everything is so lush and amazing to look at. So yeah, I love this movie. I'm obsessed.
Yeah, very fair. This movie's great. Alex.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating movie. I think I struggled a little bit in like that middle part of it, when things were developing, but I thought they were doing so in a um, in a way that it is unhelpful, in a way that is uncinematic, I should say. Like you follow Lermontov, and he's not in certain scenes, or rather, the camera stays with Lermontov, and you don't see some things happen. So you kind of follow Lermontov, and you find out, oh, these two are together. Well, I did not know that. Okay, I didn't see that. Okay, cool. And so I kind of struggled with that, and just a bit. Uh, Overall, I would say this is a really fantastic movie, making glorious use of Technicolor. What was it we saw? The Star is Born that was done in Technicolor.
Was it?
Well, that's the thing, is that when we watched it, I think it was done in Technicolor, but like it gives you nothing to look at. But the Red Shoes, because it takes place on like, in these like largely in theaters, you have a lot to look at. And because of that, you get not only the performance, you get the background, you get the costumes, you get all this cool stuff, you get all this cool movement of ballet, which is very cinematic. And so just shooting that, all of that is really great. And then you've got this love story going on. So there's one element, there's another element, there's this other element of like the relationship between the professions, the relationship between director, actor, and writer, which I think, if I had to say anything, that's what they're mostly about, this movie. That's, the actor will always want to do that. The writer will always want, to have something really interesting to work with, and the director wants this sort of control over all of it. At least that's what at least that's what these characters who have these jobs want. And how that all plays out is super interesting. And again, just like in A Matter of Life and Death, taking a concept and running with it as far as you can before you're like, all right, I think we have run a significant distance. Like the Red Shoes is a lot of bang for your buck. I don't know if I liked it more than A Matter of Life and Death. I think I did like A Matter of Life and Death a bit more. But like, if you have like an embarrassment of riches, right? Like if you have to pick one and you pick the lesser of the one, like you could do a lot worse than the Red Shoes, is all I'm saying. Like you could watch Vampire. Like imagine if you had to watch Vampire again. Like, oh my God. Why?
Yeah, that's fair. With that, we'll move on to the next challenge, which was a silent film. Alex, you haven't started one of these yet, so we'll go to you. Talk to us about this movie.
Yeah, totally. So The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is a German silent film, and it's awesome. It is the story of a doctor and his sleepwalker. A doctor and his sleepwalker. The doctor has the sleepwalker commit murders of just people in the town. There is a circus in town, and that is all the setup that you need. A circus comes to town is a fantastic setup for a story. A circus comes to town, a doctor shows up and is like, I've got a sleepwalker. What if we started telling people their fortunes? Because that's the next sentence that they said. And you're like, yeah, sure. That sounds like something a sleepwalker would do. Someone in the crowd asks, when will I die? And the sleepwalker says, tonight. Because, yeah, sure. And as it turns out, that very night, that man is killed. The authorities are like, that's sus. That's a little sus. I don't know about that. And the story kind of develops in obtuse and oblique ways from there. The setup for the story is actually, it's weird. It's a long, winding road, but it is actually like followable. What happens, pretty much everything after the 35-minute mark is wild and weird. I loved most of it. it is kind of the same, a very similar, although more colorful, kind of production, very similar to like Faust, that we saw, or like Nosferatu, which we're going to talk about shortly. This like very expressive, exaggerated production, and everything is done with like the biggest intent possible. All of the movements are strange. All of the buildings are incorrect. At a certain point, something just breaks because it needs to. Like it's solid, and then all of a sudden it's in someone's hand, and you're like, oh my god, what a nightmare. Oh, that's horrifying. Like everything is just the right level of incorrect. So but the thing is that when the movie ends, how it ends, you go, oh, that's why everything was incorrect, is because it was, or maybe it wasn't. And that's a real strength. I think The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, again, it's not scary. Like this movie is actually like 100 years old. Yeah, Caligari's house, the like weird small dimensions, but when you go inside of it, it's like a full like it's incorrect. Like it doesn't work. Like literally that it's incorrect. Caligari's house. Like you see it and it's wrong. But it's like it's real or it isn't, whichever one. But yeah, I did really like Caligari. It's different. I guess it's one of those things that's like very difficult to talk about if you haven't seen it, because it's inherently there are like twists and turns to it. But I will say that if you have not seen it, I would strongly recommend this.
Yes.
This movie.
Yeah. This movie is weird as hell, and I vibed with it. I think it was in Kirk's review of this movie where he said it's basically if someone made a Dr. Seuss horror movie. And that's correct. The production design in this movie is so unique and weird, and I love it. Just it does seem a lot like Faust in ways, in the production design at times, but you can tell this was a huge inspiration for Tim Burton, especially early in his career. Thank you, Melissa, for sending that picture to the chat, because that it definitely makes sense. This movie is wild. Whoever plays Dr. Caligari he's great. I loved him in this movie, and it's one that I can see being like an annual like October watch. It's definitely fits the spooky season vibe, so I'll probably end up rewatching it sometime next October. It's great, short and sweet, great time.
Yeah, this is my favorite of this week, by far. And
Same.
yeah, it was great to rewatch. This is actually a silent movie. I don't mind like rewatching because I know it can be hard. Because sometimes I tend to be more in the camp of like I appreciate silent films more than like, oh, I just can't wait to watch it. It's more just like I love the artistry of it all, and like it's obviously it's what began all this, so I have a lot of respect and for it, but sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to like watch because a lot of times it does have like you need like an attention span to like focus on what you're watching. But I love this movie. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, set design incredible. Also the makeup. I love the makeup of the sleepwalker. I think it's awesome, and I like his whole outfit. I like his whole vibe. It's fantastic. And then Dr. Caligari. I like his makeup too. And I like the title card transitions. I feel like it's definitely more creative than what I've seen in most silent films. It's kind of the just typical like the black and the white in the typical font that you might see. So it's kind of fun to. It almost feels like it's like written in crayon or something. It's like very demented looking.
It does. Yeah.
More people should do black turtlenecks with deep eyeshadow.
Yes.
And non-baggy black pants. Just really accentuate how pale your skin is.
Yes.
Everyone do it.
Everyone do it. It looks great. Anyway, also real quick, Nicolas Cage. This is a quality top 3 movie, so good job there.
Yep.
I believe that was one of his top 3 in an Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I can't remember for sure though, but
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Great movie, by the way. If you haven't seen that movie, that's a fun movie. Anyway, that's actually where I first heard about this movie. But anyway, we'll go on to the next one. Melissa, tell us about The Kid.
Yeah, The Kid. Pretty simple story. And I loved the runtime. Nice and short. Basically, Charlie Chaplin's character, known as the Tramp in this movie, he stumbles upon a kid that is abandoned by his mother, and then he raises said kid. And then they kind of have like a Paper Moon situation. I feel like they're just like scheming together, having a good time. And then basically reunites with the mom at some point, and then there's like a dream sequence at the end. This movie was fun. I thought it was sweet. It was really like heartwarming. It was very cute. Like it's like I ended the movie and I was just like, that was really cute. I feel like, yeah, it's nothing like, it didn't like change my life after watching it or anything, or like I didn't think it added like, I don't know, that much to like
any thought you ever had.
Yeah,
but it's just like
good.
Yeah,
but it was cute. It was good.
Yeah,
it was like a dramedy type of thing. Also, for whatever reason, when I was finished watching this, I was like, okay, is Big Daddy just the kid but modernized?
sure.
Because that was the thought I had. Okay, but yeah, that was the kid. What did you guys think?
I really like The Kid. He's also talked about. I'm assuming that's Dr. Caligari. Yeah, yeah. I really like this movie. It is just like a really sweet movie. Chaplin he's a great physical comedic actor. You've got some really great scenes, especially like when he's fighting the big brother of the kid that his adopted son was fighting. That scene was really funny, I found, but it's the only thing that kind of bothers me about this this movie like is the dream sequence, like the whole Dreamland segment kind of comes out of nowhere, and I don't know, it didn't really do anything for me in the movie. Like it was just kind of like fun and whimsical, but it didn't like matter, it seemed. So it kind of took away from it there, but like I had a great time with the movie on the whole. It's a really, really good time. Short and sweet. Like I watched it on the Criterion channel. I think it was like 50 some minutes.
Yeah, it's very short.
Yeah.
It was great. Definitely another silent movie I can see myself going back to, which that doesn't usually happen. So it definitely
we saved all that time for Spartacus.
Yes, we did.
We just saved up the minutes for Spartacus. The kid's sweet. They picked like a very cute little kid to like cover in grime. This was a nice kind of counterbalance to Bergman Week, and even Silent Movie Week, which we kind of picked like Ooh, movies. So like it was neat to go from like the exaggerated stabbings in Cabinet of Dr. Caligari to go to like a baby. Like ah. Like he just finds a kid and he's like, "Excuse me, is this your kid?" And the lady's like, "No, it's not. That's yours now." And he tries to leave it, and the policeman's like, "You sure you want to do that, bud?" And he's like, "All right, I guess."
Are you sure about that?
I don't know how to take. I have something in one of these pockets that'll do something for a kid. I don't know. Yeah, that's just like an amusing concept. And what this is the do that thing. I recently had a very the kid experience where I pulled up to work and it was raining. I work very early in the morning. Hang on, I can explain. I pulled up to work one day very early in the morning because that's when I work, and next to where I park my car usually, there was like a kid seat, a car seat,
Huh?
just on the pavement,
Oh God.
and it was raining, and it was like 5 a.m, and I thought, okay, one of two things is happening. That's either just an abandoned car seat, which I think those are expensive, or I just became a father. I don't know which one it is yet, but it's one of them. And that's like basically the setup for the kid. The setup for the kid is a kid. Like, baby. I guess I am in charge of this one now. I don't know what the law is about finding kids. But I think maybe that's it. Like if you yell no tag backs, you are now in possession of a kid. Maybe? I don't know. I didn't look into it. That way.
Oh, good Lord.
Also, this will probably make you hate the dream scene more, but I'm just gonna tell you anyways because I found this out. So one of the angels in the scene, she's 12 years old. 4 years later, her and Charlie Chaplin got married.
Ooh. Is this
Wow.
this Una Chaplin's?
Just sit with that for a minute.
I'd rather not. So we're just gonna move on to Nosferatu, and I'm gonna go right into it. Spooky. This is a spooky one. I enjoyed it. I'm just gonna try to push that Charlie Chaplin knowledge to the back of my brain. So yeah, this movie was it's another F.W. Murnau movie, and for anyone that doesn't know, for the most part on this show, we are fans of F.W. Murnau. Faust, Sunrise, it's the shit. He's a great silent film director. This is my personal least favorite of the movies I've seen of his, but it's still very good. It's essentially an unlicensed adaptation of Bram Stoker's novel Dracula. So because they couldn't get the rights to the novel, they had to change all the names and tweak a few things here and there. And like for the most part, it works. Renfield, or not Renfield, but like the insane asylum dude, they could have cut him from the movie and lost nothing. Like he doesn't do anything. He's just he just exists in this movie. This is why you are. This is why this is why we can't have this thing, Spence. Here's something else. I love you though. Anyway. Yeah, Renfield kind of just exists. There's no reason for him to be in the movie other than he was in the book and they didn't really have the runtime to explore any of his story. He's just kind of like, yes, my master, he's coming here to drink everyone's blood. Yeah, that's basically all he does. And then when Orlok dies by sunlight, spoiler alert, I guess. He's just like, no, and that's it. That's it. Yes, you are, Spence. But no, it's still very atmospheric. It's very scary, like creepy. It's got creepy vibes. It's really an interesting movie. Doesn't totally work as an adaptation. Like it works for the most part, but not totally as an adaptation of Dracula. But I found Max Schreck as Count Orlok to be fantastic. I thought he was probably the best part of the movie. If I'm being honest, I dropped something, so I'm just gonna. Y'all can carry on.
Okay. Yeah, I'll pick up where you dropped off. That's basically how I feel about the movie. Like I do think this movie's a little overhyped or overloved a bit. Because I think the movie itself, uh I think it's fine. I really struggle with that organ gothic music. Oh my god. I have to watch it on mute. I have to watch this movie on mute. I can't do it. It's just too much. If the movie was shorter, then maybe. It's too long with that music going the whole time. For me, I love the character, yeah, of Count Orlok. Like I think he kind of transcends the movie almost at this point. Like I but I love everything about his character. I love like the long fingernails, the teeth, like the whole vibe of him. Like he's creepy, and obviously it's influenced so many things like post this movie. But like the movie itself, I'm just like it's fine. Uh, I don't know. Like I don't really get the love for it. I would way rather watch the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari like any day of the week than Nosferatu. Not to like compare the two, but like I just don't get it. Like so
I mean,
no.
was in the movie. That section was in the movie.
Well, I hated the Voyage of the Demeanor.
I had
so
a good
much. Oh my god. Okay, don't get me started with that.
We can get started on that afterwards because that's actually I have takes about that movie.
Oh god.
Okay. Oh right, Alex, you haven't spoken.
Yeah, please tell me your thoughts. I'm dying to know.
Nosferatu is complete adaptational failure. I think on every level this movie fails to be an adaptation of Dracula. It's so obvious that is what they are doing. Like they just made an ugly Dracula. But in doing so, they kind of took away what makes Dracula work as a narrative, as like a movie. Because Dracula, like a lot of vampire stories, is kind of a fear of the young hot something. In Dracula, it's the young hot foreign guy. In Interview with a Vampire, it's the young hot musician or a young hot aristocrat. Nosferatu isn't hot. He has no connection. He is foreign, but he has. But like there is nothing about Nosferatu that is inviting. Nosferatu is in fact quite repulsive. And I think all of that would be fine if Nosferatu had a connection to this Mina Harker character, but he doesn't. He like lives. He has as much connection as someone that lives across the street from her. He watches her, just I guess a thing, but she is unaware of him, pretty much. So it doesn't really work. Like it doesn't mean anything when she's been glamored. When there is no chance for him to have had any power over her. Like in Dracula, when they meet and she's like curious and they lock eyes and it's like very intense. They have none of that. They skip all of that and add in stuff about the plague. And that is, I'm not going to get into like the anti-Semitic stuff here, but like that is unsatisfying as a narrative. And the movie is relatively short. So there is not a lot of time to go anywhere with anything. So like they added in uncrucial things, unimportant things to take out crucial elements. So that by the time you get this cool shadow work and these cool like long sequences on the staircase where he's walking up and the gripping of the heart, all these like amazing shots are all great, but it is meaningless because the movie has no internal logic, and so it all kind of breaks down. um like I know why I know why the Jonathan Harker character went to go see Count Orlok, but I don't know why his boss was like, you know who you should go see? You should go see Count Orlok and blah blah blah. Like there is no. It is implied that they have some kind of connection, but it's never. You don't. There is nothing. It is something that you. It is a very like thin string. This movie is a whole lot of plate dangled on like one very weak arm. And I think personally that it does not work. I wish no part of Nosferatu. I think this is probably the most overrated movie. I am willing to call this the most overrated movie of all time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Also, something that happens in the movie that just made me laugh. It's creepy as hell, but like there's a moment in the movie where not Jonathan Harker basically shows Count Orlok. He's like, "Ah, yes, this is a picture of my wife," and he looks at it and stares at it for like a solid 10 seconds and looks up at him and goes, "Yeah, I'd like to buy the house directly across from yours, please." And I'm just, for some reason that just, I found that to be like kind of humorous. It just, I don't know. I get what you're saying though about the movie. I get it. But with that wraps up that week, and we get into the last week of challenges for this month. A film featuring Charles Laughton. So, Melissa, let's kick off with you.
Sure. So I chose The Big Clock, which is like the stupidest title. Can we just talk about that for a second? Like why? It's so stupid. I hate it so much. Like I feel like I talked about titles at some point earlier when we were doing this, and I can't remember what it was, but this is up there for stupid film titles. Anyways, yeah. The big clock. Which sure, there's big clocks involved and there's other clocks involved. But it's just, anyways, it's just so stupid. It's like I don't know, this movie was fine. Like I wasn't like blown away by any means, but like it's like a murder mystery type of movie. I mean, us as the audience finds out like who killed the person, but then he tries to pin it on somebody else, and then he's trying to solve said murder, and then it's like, surprise, it was me. Basically, I don't know. I don't know. Ray Milland, I struggle with him. Like I think it's like I think I like him, but then I keep watching his movies and I don't really like the movies. So I'm like, are you the problem? I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but like it's a trend I've noticed so far from his movies. It's like I'm liking it, and I'm like, okay, I like this guy. Like I think he's doing a good job, but then I'm like, okay, I don't really know if I like your movie, and this has happened a few times now. So sensing a connection hasn't been confirmed, but possibly. Honestly, my favorite part of this movie was Elsa Lanchester as like the eccentric artist. Like I needed more of that type of energy. Also, it was fun to know that I didn't know that her and Charles Laughton were married.
Yeah, so
that was like a fun little tidbit I learned. But I just wanted more of her. Like I just wanted this one to be like a little bit more kooky, because I felt like it was like being serious, but then it's just like, all right, what are we doing here? It's pretty silly what we're doing, like with the story. So like just make it like what was that movie with that we watched earlier? I think it was for Hitchcock Week with the train.
Oh, Strangers on a Train, or not?
No.
The other one,
The other one, the one that
Lady
was like,
Vanishes.
yes,
The
I
Lady
like.
Vanishes.
I feel like I wanted like more of that energy or something. I just wanted just to get a little kookier, and then it didn't. So it was a little lackluster. It was fine, but it's a fun time. It's okay.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
felt pretty let down by this movie, considering it's got the talents of Ray Milland and Charles Laughton. Because I'm a pretty big Ray Milland fan. He's really good in Dialing for Murder. I really like him in The Lost Weekend. I found this to be very underwhelming. There's no real mystery in this movie. It's just, yeah, it feels like a lot of wasted potential. Also, yeah, stupid fucking title.
The Big Clock, guys.
There's a big clock. Not to be confused with the much better Judy Garland movie, The Clock. That movie rules, by the way.
Okay.
Can't recommend enough. Also has one of the dudes from Strangers on a Train. The dude that plays Bruno.
Okay.
So, and he's just the complete opposite of that. But we're getting on a tangent. This movie exists. That's it.
This is a segment of this is the part of the show where I turn. I loved The Big Clock. I loved The Big Clock so much. Oh my god, I had a great time with The Big Clock.
You haven't reviewed it.
No, and I can tell you, it's not that like my favorite movie we watched for this month.
Yeah.
But just like, Melissa's right. I don't know what it is. There is something about Ray Milland and Charles Laughton that just stitches me up. I don't know what it is. Like, I get Ray Milland. Like, I just get it. I don't. I think part of it is that he is such a different actor than what everyone else is doing. Like, I think everyone else is making a movie in the 40s, and I think Ray Milland is making like a movie in I don't like the 30s almost. Like, he's such a different. Like, he's a different. It feels like he's in a different generation of actors. It's so much more natural, almost like a lame Jimmy Stewart or something. But his face has this like really wonderful like expressiveness to it. And I think this movie, I think the thing that has most going for it, besides Ray Milland and besides Charles Laughton, who are awesome, it's like Charles Laughton is awesome in everything, is I think the fact that this movie halfway through develops a sort of countdown, like the structure of they're in this building and they have to solve it and everyone's already here, gives it like a sort of axis flip of something like Rope, where it's like, okay, as long as we avoid the problem on floors 3, 5, and 17, we're gonna be fine. We can make it through this. We just need to get to floor 8. We just need to get here, and we can get through this. Yeah, I thought this was like it's not like the best movie of all time. I don't even think it's necessarily a great movie, but I love it because it is specifically my kind of like, it's like just complicated enough that you have to keep up a little bit, but it's not so complicated that you're going to get lost. Like there have been like movies where I've been like, hang on, I have to rewind. I don't remember what it is that you do here. Are you the guy? Okay, you are. Okay, good. We're good. But I think The Big Clock is like is just smart enough to stay engaging while being just dumb enough that like I can keep up while like not having to put on my glasses. Like, I can do this just from voice recognition. Yeah, I really liked it. I don't know. I'm the Jack this on this one. I'm the Jack.
I don't think so. I enjoyed it enough. I kind of agree. It's like it's this
week's
good
How
movie.
to Murder. It's this month's How to Murder Your Wife. Like,
I don't know
just
about
the-
that.
just the like. Well, okay. I say I. This is how much I enjoyed it. Is this month's How to Murder Your Wife?
Okay, fair.
Uh, Sorry, that's fair. I had a big yawn there. All right. We'll move on to the next one. And speaking of big yawns, this one has a lot of them if you're not up for the 3 hours. It's Spartacus is a long movie, y'all, but I had a really good time with it. Friggin' hell. Charles Lawton, he has a much smaller role in this movie than like most other movies I've seen him in. He plays a Roman senator, and he's basically he is basically the Tommy Lee Jones in Lincoln of this movie, where he just shows up for like in the Senate scenes and talks shit about his opponents and sits down, and he's great at doing that. That's an oversimplification of Tommy Lee Jones's performance in Lincoln, but you know what I mean. But anyway, Kirk Douglas.
Spartacus.
I asked if I was spelt it right.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, I was like imagining Charles Lawton being like, "You suck."
Spartacus. Okay, yeah. Kirk Douglas is phenomenal as Spartacus. Like, definitely. This is a really strong year for Best Actor because you have Jack Lemmon in The Apartment and Burt Lancaster and Elmer Gantry, and like, so like I don't know if he makes the cut, but like he's still fantastic. The I'm Spartacus scene lives up to its reputation, in my opinion. If this movie has a really interesting story because the dude that wrote the book that this is based on was originally hired to write the screenplay, and Kirk Douglas basically said, "You need to get Dalton Trumbo to write this movie." And Dalton Trumbo was on the Hollywood blacklist. It was a huge thing at the time where it was him and a bunch of other people that were still blacklisted. And this movie was like the first big thing to kind of take down the blacklist. And Dalton Trumbo was a huge part of that too. And Kirk Douglas, it's a pretty cool story. You should look into it. But yeah, this movie, very well written, very well directed. One of it's not my least favorite Kubrick movie because I've seen A Clockwork Orange and I wasn't a huge fan of that movie. But it's still it not my favorite by any means because 2001 exists and that movie is kind of perfect. It's phenomenal. But no, this movie rules. It's got some really great action. When the slave revolt kicks off, like that whole sequence is something. It's a fantastic scene, and the fight to the death that Spartacus is forced into at the beginning, that whole scene, that's one of the most like that scene made my stomach turn at points, and like the lead up to that scene did. So it's very well done. Not one I can see myself revisiting just because of the length of this movie, but I had a really good time with it. You too.
I mean, I love Stanley Kubrick, but this is like the least Stanley Kubricky movies. But I think from my understanding, I think a few different directors were like involved. Like I don't think he was like the original person. I don't know. I didn't fully like dive into it, but I feel like I've heard that before. Anyways, this movie's fine. Like I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I definitely would like watch it again, like like if I was like really sick. I don't know about y'all, but like when I'm sick, it's like I kind of want to watch something that's very long and that I could possibly fall asleep to. But like wake up and be like, oh, okay, yeah, we're doing this now. So like it's that kind of movie for me. But no, I mean, I don't know. Like there's certain aspects of it I liked. but I definitely struggled with like the love story of it all. I was just like, okay, what are we doing here? Um, like, like we're just gonna look at each other, and that means that I love you.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if that's really worked for me in this setting. It works for Portrait of a Lady on Fire because it's different. Just wanted to point that out there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I will say the ending is like really tragic, and that the ending did get me a bit. Like I did feel emotional. I was like, oh shit, okay, this is how we're ending, because I didn't really know anything regarding this like story. So that was like a surprise for me. I was like, oh, okay, it's gonna be a sad ending.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fine. I don't know.
So I don't really think about the Roman Empire a lot. I don't know if that colored how I feel about Spartacus. I found this to be like Ben-Hur again. And I didn't like Ben-Hur the first time. And I did not care for my revisitation of it the second time. It's a really weird movie. In that I don't think Kubrick should have made it. Like, I think this is a really weird turn for Kubrick. I think someone else should have done it. I don't know who was alive to do it because that's not my realm of expertise. But like, I don't know. It was okay. I'm very skeptical of a few of the actors. Like Charles Laughton's very good, but like, he's not the main character. Kirk Douglas is fine. I think Peter Ustinov won the supporting actor award, and I don't care at all. Like,
I don't totally get it.
Yeah, I don't completely understand that, but like, I don't know. I think this falls under one of those movies that you had to be there for it, and I very was not. I wasn't there for it.
No. Peter Ustinov, he beat the doctor from The Apartment, like Jack Lemmon's neighbor in that movie.
Get a nomination. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's someone from Murder Inc., someone from Exodus, and someone from The Alamo. So I don't know. I haven't seen any of those.
Okay.
But, yeah, so there's all that. But anyway, we can move on to the last movie for this month. Alex, bring us home.
So, Witness for the Prosecution is awesome. This time, Charles Laughton is the lead, and he should be. Basically, he plays a lawyer who is just come home from hospital because his heart decided to see other people, but don't worry, they got back together. And he's not supposed to take any strenuous cases, meaning anything that's, aggressively criminal. So what walks in? Boom, a murder trial. And he takes it so he can have access to drugs. He only hears the case because he wants a cigar. And then he hears the case and he's like, actually, I'm bored. That sounds very interesting and weird, and I'll take it. Basically, I don't know if she was married before, so I guess I don't know if she's a widow, but like this woman has been killed, and the younger married man that she had developed a somewhat close relationship with, who was trying to like get her to sponsor his like shitty invention, is the prime suspect. He believes he's going to be arrested, so he seeks out the help of this prime lawyer played by Charles Laughton. And he's like, I mean, I'll do it, but I'm not supposed to. And what follows is a small bits of investigation, but from there you mostly go to trial. And a good majority of the movie is just the trial of this like guy, and as it's framed, it doesn't look good. Like, he's a defense lawyer, so he just straight up tells him, I don't like how this is looking for you. I'll be honest, this is not. It's your word and your wife's word against all of the evidence. And that's not great. The guy is arrested just in time for Marlene Dietrich to show up. And I don't know if y'all have ever seen Marlene Dietrich, but she looks super shady. And that's just what she had this like fantastic German accent, and she just played sort of, she walks in and she doesn't look like a sad grieving woman. She looks like, hello, I'm here to scheme, and you're like, hi Marlene. And from there, I won't spoil it, but from there are twists and turns that both involve the guy not giving 100% of the story, Marlene Dietrich not giving 100% of the story, the prosecution not giving 100% of the story, and indeed, eventually, the defense having more of the story. And for a movie that is mostly just sitting and listening to speeches, it is very entertaining because they got Charles Laughton to do the speeches. He has a fantastic delivery, and on some level, he understands there is nothing to look at, so I will overload the other parts. You know, they wrote it really well, and they gave you twists and turns to think about, and they got a really good actor to say the talkies. At the end of it, you feel like you've been put through a roller coaster. Like anyone that has been to court understands, it's not always super fun to like be there. And I don't remember who's the main actor who plays
like the guy who's like
the guy who's on trial.
Tyrone
Powell.
Yeah, that guy is put through several roller coasters over the course of his trial. And he wears it all. Like, he is climbing on every inch of barrister that he can to try and prove himself not guilty. And that's a fun contrast to the Marlene Dietrich, who is so like constantly straight-faced and clad in the finest of black berets. And it's just like a really fun, entertaining. It's weird to describe this as fun, but like it is. It's like a really fun court movie, if that makes any kind of sense at all.
I mean, I think it does, because that's what I would say as well. Like, it has this weird balance of being, that there is moments of like fun and comedy, but then there is like some seriousness as well with what's going on, and there's definitely like a mystery to it all, because like as the audience, we're trying to kind of figure it out too. It's like, okay, what's really the truth? I loved this movie. I thought it was great. The ending is like fantastic. I didn't see any of that coming, really. I loved the twists and turns and the journey, and out of this week for like Charles Laughton, like this was my favorite for sure, and like favorite performance of his out of the three movies too, because I'm glad that you picked it as like a topic, because like I really haven't seen much of him, and I do enjoy him, and he has a great voice, like just like speaking voice. We have
to get you to watch The Private Life of Henry VIII.
If you like Charles Laughton's speaking voice, you'll love his screaming voice.
Okay.
Which is The Private Life of Henry VIII.
All right, I'm looking forward to that.
But yeah, I didn't have a chance to rewatch this one in time. I have seen it before, but Lawton is phenomenal. Do I give him best actor for that year? I mean, maybe. It's close because he was up against Alec Guinness for Bridge on the River Kwai. And I think Alec Guinness in that movie is great, but Lawton in this movie is chewing all of the scenery. He is having a great time in this movie, and it's really fun to watch. Wilder is he's my guy. I think this is one of his best movies. Top almost it's definitely in the top 5 conversation for me. It's really intriguing, really thrilling, and the performances in this movie, especially from Marlene Dietrich, are phenomenal. Highly recommend if you haven't seen this movie. Definitely one of the best of its year. One of the best years of movies, probably in just classic Hollywood, because you got 12 Angry Men in there as well. Seventh Seal, this, Bridge on the River Kwai. It's a great year. But yeah, it's just it's fantastic. I had a really good time with it the first time I saw it. All right. That does bring us to the end of the episode. Our next one will be that's not right. That banner's not right. I fucked up on one of the banners. So we'll go for the next challenges. Them being a film by Roberto Rossellini, a film released in 1953, a classic Universal monster film. So it's spooky season. So yeah, there's that. A film by Frank Capra, a definitely not so spooky director, and a horror film for the last week, the Halloween week of this month. So yeah, I guess we can just ask ourselves right now, which one of those, what movie are you most excited to watch for the challenge this next month?
Oh, I don't even remember what I picked.
Probably I'm probably most excited for The Innocents, and I'm very excited for a horror film week. I think that's gonna be great. It wasn't my pick, but I am excited to see The Invisible Man as well, because I've not seen that and I've heard nothing but great things. So excited for those.
This month has a lot of movies that I really have been wanting to see. Alex has been saying great things about Lady for a Day since he saw it. So there's that. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington also is great. But I'm really excited for the Rossellini week because you've got Rome, Open City, Germany, Year Zero, which are like movies 1 and 3 of his war trilogy, which I have somewhere on this shelf. And I'll try to find time for the second movie in that trilogy as well, because I want to watch all 3. And then you get The Machine That Kills Bad People.
Jack, I don't mean to be rude, but you're really skipping The Machine That Kills Bad People.
We've got a Marilyn Monroe movie next month with Niagara. It's gonna be great. But no, I'm probably most excited for Rosemary's Baby. Probably my biggest horror blind spot. I've heard great things about the movie.
So good.
Yeah, I've heard great things. Can't wait. Alex.
I don't know, but we're really entering our Vincent Price era. Which, I mean, I know I can't be the only one that's excited.
Oh, I am hyped.
I think we have House of Wax as well as The Mask of the Red Death. But again, I mean, you can watch The Mask of Red, but it's not The Machine That Kills Bad People. I mean, we might finally get an Italian movie that I like, and I think that's special. I think that's interesting. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Also, for those of you that are interested in Roberto Rossellini movies, he's got 3, maybe 4 that have Ingrid Bergman in them. Stromboli's the best of them. So
that's why.
There's that. Yeah. Maybe. But yeah, so anyway, thank you to everyone that watched this episode. Our our next episode, if I can find that banner, because I did update it. Our next episode is October the 27th at 9 p.m. EST. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We will do it on time this month, I swear.
We have
There's
20
no
days.
reason we should be
We
late.
have less than a month.
Yeah.
There's no reason we should be late.
Yeah, we'll see.
So yeah, fingers crossed. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.
Well, nobody's perfect.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.